I'm Dr. Bob McGrew from Cornerstone Family Medical Group in Modesto. This video segment on polio vaccinations, saving people from paralysis, is one in a series of videos that provide information on commonly recommended immunizations. You can go to our website, cornerstonefpmg.com, and click on our video link to discover what other videos we have available. This video is intended to supply general information. For specific decisions about your health, always consult with your personal doctor. Why does the title of this video refer to saving people from paralysis? Well, that's what the polio virus causes in its victims. Weakness in the arms and legs that can vary from mild weakness of the legs to total paralysis or inability to move the arms and legs, as well as difficulty breathing. In the past, polio was called infantile paralysis because it predominantly affected infants and toddlers. If a disease like this were common in America today, you can imagine the fear that it would strike in the hearts of parents. Well, I have a family story that illustrates this. About the year 1924, my father's mother received a message at work. Now, you have to know that my father was about 2 years old and was living with a family friend many miles away from where my widowed grandmother was working. The message was, "Maud, come quick. Little Bobby has a fever and he's not moving well. We think he has polio." My grandmother was scared to death that he would die, as up to 10% of people who were paralyzed with polio died immediately. Many others died eventually of problems related to being paralyzed. Indeed, little Bobby did have polio, but he was fortunate. In up to half of the young children affected by polio, there is complete or near complete recovery, and he was one of those lucky ones. He went on to live a normal life. However, in the late 1950s, when the polio vaccine was first widely available in the United States, my father made sure that the family went to stand in the long lines of people who waited to receive the new Salk polio vaccine at public health clinics in our hometown. Waiting in those long lines is one of my first memories. You see, polio continued to be common in the U.S. into the 1950s. In 1952, the year I was born, 58,000 Americans were affected by polio. That would be equivalent to about 116,000 people in 2013, since we now have about twice the population of 1952. The near elimination of polio in the U.S. in the early 1960s provided relief for worried parents and a great victory for public health workers. Polio in the United States became only a memory because the vaccinations worked very well. Let's talk a little more about the disease of polio, the current threat of polio in the world, and learn how the vaccine works. Polio is a highly contagious infectious disease caused by the polio virus. This virus initially grows in the human gut and can be transmitted by oral contact, such as kissing, drinking water contaminated by sewage, or eating contaminated food. The virus can cause fever, aches, and pains. Most people with the virus get no further symptoms. It is important to point out that those people can still be passing the germ on to other people for a while, though. However, in about 1 out of 100 infected people, the virus spreads through the blood to the nerve cells at the base of the brain and spinal cord. In those cells, the virus reproduces and causes cell death. It's the cell death of these nerve cells that causes the partial to severe paralysis of the legs and arms that we previously discussed. The good news for people in the U.S. is that polio virus has not been present in North and South America since the 1990s because polio immunizations are very effective. Immunizations have been championed in the poorer parts of the world by such organizations as Rotary International and the World Health Organization. However, it's important that people in the U.S. stay immunized against polio until the polio virus is eliminated from the world. Why? The polio virus is so highly contagious that it could easily be reintroduced into the United States if a significant part of our population were not vaccinated. The vaccine used in the U.S. is called inactivated polio vaccine, abbreviated IPV. It usually is given to infants at 2, 4, and 6 months of age in a vaccine called Pediatrix. This combines the polio vaccine with 4 other vaccines into one shot in the arm or leg muscles. Children then get a booster immunization for polio before going to kindergarten. The IPV polio vaccine is generally not needed for American adults who are immunized as children. However, IPV boosters may be recommended for travelers to countries where polio is still existent, such as Afghanistan, Pakistan, and Nigeria. The IPV immunization introduces components of the polio virus into the body, but there are no live germs. This causes the body to activate the immune system and form very long-lasting antibodies that will protect that person from polio for many years. Follow-up data shows 99 to 100% of children develop protective antibodies after 3 doses. If you would like more information about how vaccines work, we recommend 2 websites that have comprehensive, reliable information about vaccinations. The first is at www.cdc.gov/vaccines. The mission of the CDC, the Center for Disease Control in Atlanta, is to save lives and protect people. The second website is that of the Immunization Action Coalition at www.immunize.org. The polio vaccine is safe. It has been used widely in the U.S. since 1996, with no serious side effects having been linked to the vaccine. Small reactions such as soreness at the injected muscle and mild redness at the site can occur. IPV does contain trace amounts of streptomycin, polymyxin B, and neomycin, so it should not be used for the few people who've had severe reactions to these antibiotics in the past. Because Americans aren't badly threatened by polio now, it's hard for any of us to imagine the fear of a polio epidemic that would threaten children and adults in our families. The fact that it's so hard for us to imagine a polio epidemic is because the polio vaccine works so well. Please help us to keep America polio-free by making sure that the people you love are vaccinated.